processed foods.
Packaged like dehydrated potatoes.
No, we usually get enough donations of fresh potatoes, we usually make those up ourselves as we have them. Yeah.
The other question that I had regarding food is that of the people that I help, many of them are toothless because of drug problems in the past. Now, so there's certain things that I never cook and take out there. I always do a hot meal, and I always do a protein hot meal because it's a but I just was wondering, because the favorite thing that they have that I serve out there is stew with dumplings on the top.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, really. When are you gonna serve again? I'll come back up and place. It's interesting because one of the things we do is around Thanksgiving, of course, we have a big turkey drive, because one of the things we do is, again, talking about servicing those in their houses, keep them in their houses, is we provide about 500 food baskets at Christmas and Thanksgiving for folks in the community to prepare their own meal, at home. So it's a Thanksgiving and all the fixings for about 4 people. So typically, we plan for 500, for both, so we try to gather about 1,000 turkeys. Sometimes we go over and, have 1,200, and we share with other food banks and other administrations. But we always keep it kind of reserved, so that's kind of our fallback. When the donations don't come in, we always have, recipes for turkey cacciatore, we have turkey lasagna, turkey tacos, turkey empanadas, turkey, you name it. Whatever we can make with a turkey, that's kind of our fallback position, because usually we have a freezer full of turkeys that we can just quickly thaw and cook. So, yes, so my two main kitchen manager and cook there are very adept at being able to adapt to whatever kind of comes in and into the numbers. So we try to make it as best a home cook we can with the quantities we're doing.
My thoughts keep going back to what Guy was saying about the community buying in. Clearly, your community has bought in.
We do have detractors though, still. We still do.
What's that?
We still have detractors, people that don't agree with what we're doing, yes.
But as far as cash donations, you need the cash donations. How do you go about that? I mean, it's just like, asking for those donations. Sure. How does that work? Do you have like a main person that goes around, or that's like the #1 job, or
in every
PR person?
in every charitable organization, you'll usually find a couple different columns. One is for fundraising, and then administration, where basically kind of overhead you maintain the county and that, and then you have your fundraising. So we do have 3 full-time people that do nothing but fundraise for us. And we have basically around 10,000 donors in the community that give regularly to the mission, whether that's once a year, 3 times a year, or every month, because we have around 10,000 supporters in the community. And quite frankly, it's actually, we do have some supporters up here that donate from the Siskiyou area, from Tehama County, from Trinity County, even as far east as Lassen County. We have folks that support us. In fact, I just saw a donation come in from the Bay Area. I don't know how they heard of us, but they did. So we do have kind of a wide base there. So how we do that is, we basically rely on direct mail quite a bit. We contract with another company that will come in and put out the solicitations through the mail to folks in our community that have a propensity to give. And quite frankly, it's quite a sophisticated science. It really is. I'm going to be perfectly honest about that. We have zip walks or zip code walks where they can buy lists of folks that have given to other organizations. It can be very, very sophisticated on that. So we do a lot of that. So I have a full-time staff of 2 or 3 people that do that only. Plus plan events, do a fundraiser. We have 3 events that we typically do. We like to involve all generations, so we have what's called the food fight, but that's the school-age children that we get them involved in that, and then food fight. We have the Night to the Rescue, which is a little bit older, which is where we ask kind of high school age and college age to come out and put together a team and spend the night out at Simpson College. And we do events and different things, and we do a lot of education at that point. And then we have our annual banquet, which we had about 1,000 people at last year, and that's our major event fundraising that we do throughout the year. So it does take quite a bit of work to do the fundraising. Yes, sir. He was being patient back in the back. I thought I lost you. You left and came back.
Oh, well, yeah, because I was back and forth. How did the anti-panhandling campaign work?
It actually was started by a group of businessmen on Hilltop Drive up there, and they put out posters so that at the businesses along Hilltop, they put posters on their doors and windows as people would come in and say, don't And the crux of it, I didn't like it that much, because it put everybody in one category. It said, don't feed my habit. So meaning that don't give them money so they can feed their habit. That's not the case for everybody. So I kind of hated that, didn't like that, but I liked the concept of doing some sort of program to educate the public that it's not necessarily in the best interest of those that are asking for the money to give them cash. Because you really don't know what it is that they're going to do with the cash. If you feel so inclined, my recommendation to people, if you feel safe, is to go up and talk to them. Find out what their needs are. Find out what is, how can I help you? And I've done that with folks, and they need some gas. I take them to the gas station, fill up their tank for them, and send them on their way. And instead of giving them cash, I don't give anybody cash. And so asking them, what they need, and then being able to step in there, you'll find out very quickly whether they're sincere or not. If they go, no, if you're, I need some money for food. Great, I'll come down to McDonald's. No, I don't like cheeseburgers. Okay, what can I get you? Well, I'm not really hungry right now. I'm just for the future. So, whatever that excuse is, you find out very quickly what their issue is. So I would suggest, if you feel safe, especially if you have somebody with you, to ask them what their needs are. And so the crux of the panhandling, anti-panhandling, was don't give the money directly to the person that's asking for it, but give the money to those agencies and organizations that are in the community that help those folks, and then direct those folks to those agencies to get the help.
Does it work, is what he's asking, I think.
I think so. Yeah, we've seen a drop off on folks, being there, and that whole time slot, thing. When they see those when they see those contributions drop off, they'll move on someplace else, if that's what their only motivation is.
The
Yes.
people that.
Go ahead.
Is it okay? The people that I first started, the most thing that they said they needed was boots and coats and sleeping bags, and then showers, and a place to do laundry. And so, do you find that that's pretty much what people start with?
In this community, because you don't have a shelter, that's probably what they're gonna need. I mean, you have to basically address their immediate needs, shelter, clothing, food.
Okay,
Are the three basic needs that
so
people
then,
have.
so then, in getting started, how would you think your proportion of how you would allot what you're doing would be directed?
Well, I think taking care of the immediate needs so they don't freeze to death out there, and if they have some food, that would be the first place to start, and probably take care of that while you're planning to do something a little more permanent. Because you don't want them out there, because one of the problems we find, and the whole thing about once a month and the gas and everything else, we do the same thing. We have a clothing store, if you will, from donations from the community. We don't allow people to go in there once a month. And that's the reason for that, is that we don't want that free clothing giveaway to become their laundry service, and then be a blight on the community, because they'll be throwing their clothes away and things like that. Same thing happens kind of in a lot of ways for the sleeping bags, because they get wet and they throw them away if they know they can go someplace else and go to some store and get another one. Some of it is legitimate, because it unexpected rainstorm and they get wet, and then how are they going to keep warm in a wet sleeping bag, and how do you dry it out if you don't have facilities? So that would be the first thing I would do, is try to address their immediate needs, and then start planning for something long term, so that you can get them out of being exposed in the elements and bring them inside. Lady in the vest was
So
first.
one of the things I've noticed in Medford, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but like when you come off the freeway and there used to be people standing there, now there's a sign that says that it's illegal for me in a car to give something outside, to pass
Is there an
something
ordinance like
outside.
that?
Yeah, Medford does have an ordinance.
And it would be interesting to find out from them, some of the places where I used to see people, I don't see people,
Right.
because they put the responsibility back on
Yeah.
the person in the car to
Right.
not do that, so that looks like it's eliminated. I just noticed it a few
That's
weeks
a great
ago.
idea. It's a great strategy.
So,
I think our community's small enough that if we're aware enough, we know who the people are that are the panhandlers. I mean, there's that skinny guy that sits out here at Rayleigh's all the time, and I think his mom drops him off, and he's been doing it for years. I mean, it's just being aware of the people in your community, the people that my friend Rajiv and my friend Berta have worked with for 2 years. They are the homeless people. The only time that they usually will panhandle is if they need food for their animals or something like that. But talking about their needs, we have a storeroom at Sears, and we keep our trunks stocked, and a lot of these people that are the transients, they'll need tarps and you know, those kind of things that are just the basic things, and we always have a hygiene bag for them, and Rajiv has a duffel bags that he gives, so it's just, you know, supplying their basic needs, and they're happy with it. Whatever I don't use, I will pass on to someone else, is their philosophy.
And it goes back to, you know, those are the folks that need the help, and so they'll gladly accept that.
And and you just have to, you have to interact with
Yes.
them, you can't just assume, you have to interact with them.
Yeah, not everybody in the community will feel comfortable
No,
or safe
no,
to do so.
No,
And so to provide that other outlet through like the anti-panhandle, you know, those signs, you know, here's an organization that's in the community to help those in need in our community. So instead of giving it to that person, you know, give it to this organization, whatever that looks like. And just so that they can then be your hands and feet, if you will, to help and extend that help to those in the community that need it.
And it's been overwhelming the amount of people in the community who've helped us. I mean, we were just a little grassroots nonprofit group, and, you know, we have a whole storeroom full of stuff
Yeah.
that people have donated.
And that's part of our humanity. We want to
Yeah.
help other people
Yeah,
that are in
you
need.
know, and
You
it's just whatever they
it
feel
is.
comfortable
Yeah.
with. They might not feel comfortable going and giving it to the person directly, but giving it to us that we can facilitate it,
Exactly.
you know, so.
There's no question. Yes, sir.
On your mail campaign,
Mhm.
I know I get them all the time.
Oh,
Of the 2250, how much of that do you get back, or is it, they take part of that process? We're trying to start a huge food bank, kitchen, greenhouse type thing with showers and laundry
Mhm.
to help these needs. But how much on that campaign do you get percentage back of that 2250, say?
Well, we have a contract with that direct mail company, so we have a fixed cost for those mailings. We do about 10,000 mailings a month, so they put out about 120,000 pieces of mail for us a year. And that, you know, that includes the mailing and everything else, so there's a fixed cost for that amount. So for us, it's what is our return on investment
Yeah.
on that. So for us, our return on investment is about 8 to 1. For every dollar we spend on that direct mail, we get, you know, 8 back. So that's kind of,
So
it's
it's well
really good,
worthwhile
it's really
project.
well,
Right,
yes,
12%.
it's really a good return on investment on that, yeah. So for us, it's been very successful. The other thing you gotta take a look at too is those that have a propensity to give generally are, you know, my age and older, you know, and that age group, you know, the baby boomers, us baby boomers, like to have stuff in their hands. The electronic world still is not quite there yet, you know, so you're trying to do some direct stuff via email or electronic newsletters and those kind of things. You know, for the folks that have the disposable income, the direct mail still, even though as some, you know, really kind of get tired of seeing our mail every month, but, you know, it still works. It's still the most effective manner to raise funds very quickly.
You know, might as well get that name of your company.
Yeah, you bet, you bet, you bet.
So how do you compete with the other, in a small community like this? I'm president of the board of another nonprofit. How do you compete for the dollars that everybody wants out of a small,
Sure.
and the businesses are the ones that get hit by all of us, from the school kids, you know,
Sure, you bet.
to my organization.
You'll find in every community, people have a certain propensity to give to certain causes that they near and dear to their heart, regardless of what it is. Some people like to give to animals, and save every animal. Some people like the environment, and they give to environmental causes. You know, so everybody has their propensity. So what you're doing is you're really not competing with other nonprofits. You're just trying to find those people that have an affinity to what you're trying to accomplish and have the same heart for what you're trying to accomplish.
And do the,
So it's not a finite pie.
Right,
In
right.
reality, really, there is no pie because
right, right.
you're not slicing up just a finite number of resources. It's
I
just trying
wonder
to-
whether the church community would be a good place to find that
Mhm. The
possibility.
majority of our supporters are people
Right,
of faith.
be
To
interesting
be
to know
quite
what they
frank. So, and that's because we're a faith-based program too.
Right.
And the other thing is that, you know, we're non-denominational. So not a certain denomination supports us. We encompass all denominations. We have our basic, statement of faith. That's pretty broad. So most everybody can sign that and can sign on to that as well. So we try to be as broad-based as possible. So yeah, that would definitely be. But I wouldn't be too concerned about feeling that's more of a competition. It really is. I mean, we have probably over 200 nonprofits in Reading, and we're able to raise the money that we're able to raise, and it's not that. It's I shouldn't say not that difficult. It takes quite an effort, but it's there. The people are very, very generous, especially when you have. The other thing too is to really tell your story. You know, what is it you're trying to achieve, And those stories of those two young men that you helped to get back into the community, be productive members of society, those are the stories you wanna highlight. See, this is how the money goes to help people in our community. We're just not providing the handout, but here's how that we're doing the hand up. And here's the process we put people through. That's what people wanna know. How are you utilizing our money? Are you being good stewards of the money that I'm entrusting to you? You know, that's why I had the statistic about how effective our recovery program is. People wanna know, are we effective, or am I just throwing money away? They wanna know, that's why I have 182,000 meals, that's what those monies come. You have to have some case study, you have to have some statistics, if you will, to help you tell the story. And you have to have those testimonies of people that you've helped get back on their feet. And that provides the story for people to really get behind and wanna support what you're doing. And plus, the main thing is you have to have that vision and that kind of the call to action, what you're trying to accomplish as your overarching guideline.
Along that line, as far as telling your story, for me, if you could get on the email listing somehow of Rogue Valley Youth for Christ, their email stories they are so moving.
Yeah.
It's the best I've ever seen of any group.
Yeah.
So
That's
if
why,
you
you
need
know,
some help,
Yeah, on our
on that.
website, we do stories, we do testimonies as
Right.
well. On our newsletter that we send out quarterly, we have testimonies of people's lives being changed.
individuals.
Individuals, yeah, it's about, because it's, otherwise you get too caught up in the enormity of the
Yeah,
problem.
exactly.
And you have to really focus it down to those single individuals that are helped and those success stories.
Right.
You know, otherwise, you know, the calamities that we see across the world when there's a flood or famine or earthquake, it's like, you know, how can I help, you know?
Right.
But they usually will bring that down to one individual. You know, this is how you can help this person. And this is how this person has been helped by your generosity.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And then there are non-government grants available?
There are lots of foundations out there that will, that have helped us. For us, Mercy Medical Center of Dignity Health, we just received a $53,000 grant from them for our program, for our recovery program, to help us in our certification
Lilly
process. And to
Foundation.
help us to bring on a therapist on staff too, to help provide some therapy for the folks in our, both in our recovery programs and those that are there at the shelter as well.
Okay,
So,
the government never,
government, yes, through HUD, there's lots of money through HUD for those housing initiatives. So, yes, so if you choose to be a non-faith-based program, then you can access the government dollars to.
yes, but if you're faith-based, then there's no government.
You can still do it, but the problem is like for us, like for our recovery program and for our nighttime, you know, for the recovery program, it's a requirement that they go to church, that they attend our chapel meetings and do that part of their recovery. In that, if I had government money, I could not require that. It would have to be an option. And a lot of missions do that. They make all those things optional. The evening chapel service, you know, for me, for the guys and gals that are staying there overnight, is a mandatory thing that they go, because I want to address their spiritual needs too,
Sure.
not just their physical needs. So for me, it's an important element to address that issue, so I make that as a mandatory part of their staying there. If you receive government funds, you can make that option. It will no longer be mandatory.
Oh,
You can
okay.
still offer those things, but you cannot make it mandatory.
And does the government give you a list of rules and stuff?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, lots of strings. Lots of strings. And a lot of reporting requirements. So you have to be prepared to be able to document, you know, how you spent the money and what outcomes you had and all those things. So it does take quite a bit of effort to do that.
Thank you.
Do you have people who balk when you give them that requirement of going to chapel services at evening, or do they try to evade it or get out of it?
Yeah,
or do
there's always that.
Sure.
Like I said, but we're not running a prison, so, you know, we say it's mandatory, but, you know, if they happen to slip out the back door, well, okay, we'll catch them next time. You know, we'll talk to them, if we see there's a consistent pattern, we'll talk to them and encourage them to go, but, you know, it's just like Jesus, he offered himself freely, and so we don't make it a mandatory thing either, so, I mean, in that sense that we, you know, handcuff them to a chair. Besides, the chief will get mad at me if I
How
do
do you
that.
handle your chapel? Do you have someone on staff that does the chapel every night?
I have someone on staff that coordinates that, Pastor Dave Honey, he's our coordinator for that, he
So you
also is
have
our
various-
director. And so he has about 20 different groups and
Oh,
churches
okay.
in the community that come in every night and put that on.
Okay.
And when there's a group that can't make it because they're sick or something else comes up, then he steps in and does that.
So you're
And
just.
so they put on a full service for that. Yes, sir.
What about non-Christians,
Uh-huh.
people who are non-Christian?
Sure. They can come and serve in various capacities in the mission there. Obviously, they're not going to put on chapel service, but
No, but people not serving, but people who are homeless and are non-Christian.
Oh, they can come in, sure.
And, but,
We don't-
but you still have to go to a Christian service.
Yes. Yeah, we don't discriminate on any basis as far as services are concerned, there at the mission. But we've had transgender people come in, and we don't turn them away. We have, just for every walk of life come through our doors. And the only requirement we have is to attend to one service in the evening, and that's it. We haven't made any allowances for conscious objections for that, because we feel that just that one requirement, take an hour of your day to listen to service, is all we ask in return for what we give you. So that's kind of how we handle that.
Are there other services offered here similar to yours that aren't faith-based?
We're the only shelter in, let's see, the nearest shelters are in Sacramento, Yreka, Reno, Medford. Those are the nearest 24/7 shelters. So in a pretty wide area, we're the only ones, because we're kind of central to about 7-9 counties, if you will. Tehama has a winter kind of shelter that they've been working on, Tehama County, where they kind of go to church and offer that, but they're only there for the winter time, so we're the only one that's there 24/7, all year round. I think there's another winter one down in Orville, but that's it. There is no other facility around besides ours.
The Sacramento one, that's a faith-based.
There's several of them down there. There's some that are non-faith-based, and there are some that are faith-based. They're a much larger population, so.
And have you rapport with the different shelters as well?
We do, like I believe I said earlier that we're members of the Association of Gospel Rescue
Okay, that's
Missions.
right.
And there's around 300 missions across the United States that are part of that. And so one of our sister missions is in Santa Rosa, and so when somebody comes in, say for a recovery program, and they're just not a good fit with us, or something's going on, we will sometimes refer them to Santa Rosa and give them the opportunity to go there and talk with them first before, to make sure they have room for that person. And so we do have a lot of communication. The Medford shelter is not part of that Association of Gospel Rescue Mission. I get to be able to go up there and chat with them and see, what services they offer. But there's like 2 or 3 different shelters up there that are put on by Salvation Army. There's a Gospel Rescue